2. Hello, everyone. I am so excited. So I know I say this every single week about how I am so excited about today's presenter, but I am hands down, and Dr. Jackson has already heard me fangirl earlier today, but I am so excited to have Dr. David Jackson with us today to talk about perceived value for 2 reasons. One, because I am so passionate about improving the value of chiropractic. And his webinar that I stalked a couple of months ago and sat in on just blew me away. So much so that I worked very diligently to get in touch with anyone and everyone within his team so that I could get access to him and ask him to be here today. This man is amazing. He is so motivating, so powerful, and has an incredible story about his journey through chiropractic. Seriously, I just cannot say enough about him. Absolutely amazing what he and his team are doing. His story is so incredibly motivating. So I'm going to just shut up now, turn it over to Dr. Jackson so that you can be blown away just like I was a couple of months ago. So Dr. Jackson, thank you so much for being here today.
It is my absolute pressure. I was going to say pleasure, but I hope I can live up to the pressure of that introduction. But thank you so very much, Christy. And thank you, docs, for taking some time out of your day, whether you're listening to this live with us today or whether you've hit this on the website as a recording. I know a lot of things, actually, let me be truthful. But one thing I know is that our inboxes are really full, and they're full of lots of wonderful opportunities, lots of great things. And you may right now be saying, I'm not sure who this guy is, or maybe I've heard him before. This thing, perceived value, caught my eye. I'm going to promise you that I'm going to over-deliver on the content today, and I'm going to do that because this is some of the things, some of the strategies and ideas and beliefs and processes that I've gone through personally to dramatically change my life. And that's not hyperbole. That's just flat out the truth. And I've also taught this material to thousands of chiropractors, many of which pay a significant amount of money to learn it, and so I'm not going to hold anything back from you. I'm going to really get into this. And before we do that, I think it's kind of important, you want to know, ChiroHealthUSA, maybe you know a little bit about me, maybe you know nothing about me. So this webinar isn't about me, which is the best news of the day, right? This is about you and your interaction with your community, your clients, your patients, your prospects, and the financial ramifications of what it means to you when you can actually raise the perception of value in your community. So that I can give you some authority and I can kind of pre-frame one of the 10 strategies I'm going to share with you today, I do want to share briefly a little bit about me. So I graduated chiropractic school from Los Angeles College of Chiropractic a long time ago, actually 30 years ago. And I just wanted to help people, honestly. I just wanted to go out and, be a good citizen, be a good chiropractor, and help people. And I don't have the time today to go into the detail, but let me just give you the really quick thumbnail version. That apparently wasn't enough, because when I graduated, I had never really failed at anything in my life. I'm a pretty intelligent guy. I'm a hard worker. I'm super honest, full of integrity, and I just thought, I'm going to do this. Well, I tried it, and I tried it again and again and again, and after 2.5 years, I had either been in as an independent contractor or opened 9 different practices, and I've completely failed every single time. And failed, I mean like I didn't not hit my goals. I failed, went out of business 9 times and got so frustrated, so disenchanted, so disillusioned that I not only quit chiropractic, I legitimately burnt my diploma that cost me over $200,000 in a garbage can. And I became an auto mechanic. And so I traded in using my hands to serve humanity to using my hands to turn wrenches. And I just figured that was it. And through a confluence of events, obviously I kind of came back, and it was this person's. I'm going to tell you, it's one person's fault. It was my best friend's fault, because he set me up on a blind date with a woman who thought I was a doctor, thought I was successful, and I wanted to impress her so much I went back into practice during our brief time together, about 3.5 months before I married her, and that was 28 years ago. So lots of crazy things have happened, but this is what I had to learn, how to raise the perception of value, because I wanted something so badly. I wanted this woman in my life and this relationship, and now we've had this amazing life and this amazing family, 3 amazing daughters, and it's so much of that is because of this raising perceived value. I've taught around the profession for, almost 17, 18 years. I've traveled over 1 million miles speaking on platforms all over the place. I created the very first online training program in the entire chiropractic profession. We have the #1, community-based, pediatric-focused, family-focused training program for chiropractors that we meet physically. We train every week. So I learn a lot from you. And then me and my team are able to share it with you. And this concept of value is so important regardless of where you really are right now. And you'll see on the slide, I'm hoping you can see that, the word perceived is isolated in a different color. And it's important that we start at the beginning, because this conversation isn't really about value. It's about the perception of value. So let me give you a couple of quick analogies so you understand exactly what I mean. Everyone looks at the world through their own lens. And I'm a self-professed, a non-apologetic car guy. I love cars. I've always loved cars. I collect cars. I race cars. I really love cars. And I have some cars that I'm sure most people, even most people on this phone call, would be, what the hell? Like, why would you spend that much money, that much time? Why did it? Like, it just needs to get me from point A to point B. It's got to be safe. It's got to have 4 seats, and it's got whatever, right? Because some people, their perception of values of car is transportation. Other people, the perception of value of car is security and safety. And other people's perception of cars is that they create amazing experiences in life, which is where I land. None of them are right and none of them are wrong, but they all are. So the perception is critically important for us to focus on, because we can actually change without being manipulative, without doing shenanigans and being a slick salesperson. We can actually, through just understanding basic human psychology, we can actually elevate the perception of value. And I will go on record, this is being recorded, I've said it before, I'll say it again. One of the biggest, if not the biggest problems we have in the chiropractic profession is the lack of perceived value. Now listen up, please. I don't mean from your community. That's true. Your community may not and probably does not have the perception of value that it needs to have or should have based upon what is true. But the real perception of value that I find that's such a struggle it was for me was how much I valued chiropractic. And I'm not here today, I never have been, never will be, I'm not here today to take sides. It doesn't matter to me where you went to school and where you graduated from. It doesn't matter to me if you wear a white coat, a blue coat, or no coat. It doesn't matter to me if you use 15 different modalities or you don't have a single electrical outlet in your practice because you're so straight. The straight and mixer thing doesn't matter to me. It never has, never will. What matters to me is why we choose to do what we do in our company, which is Epic Practice. The whole goal is not to tell you how I did it or how others do it, but to say, what do you want to do? You know, actually, when people ask me on an airplane what I do for a living, I say I'm a life architect. I help people design, build, and execute and live in their epic life, not just their epic practice. And we don't do that by saying, here's mine, it's perfect, here, I'll ship it to you in a box. We can't do that. We have to allow you, the doctor, and the team to look at the things that you want and then learn how to then apply these principles and concepts to raise the perception of value first in you, then through conversation, through conversion into your community, whether it's one-on-many or one-on-one. And when we can do that, not if, when we can do that within ourselves and then transition and translate it to our community, there's one thing I can promise you on this webinar. It will radically transform your life. It will radically transform your practice, because what we do is valuable, and what people want is our value, but there's this huge thing in the middle we call the gap, and that is precisely what we're running after for today. So let me start with a little quiz, and I'm not going to ask you to answer this out loud, but I'd really like you to think about this. What's the difference? Let's just talk about value. I just went on to Amazon and I pulled out three bottles. They're all water, H2O, right? They're all water. But according to Amazon, you can get this Nestle's Pure Life at about 56 cents a bottle. You can get Evian for about $1.66, and you can get this Agua Plus, and I guess it's the Plus that makes it $2.84. What is the real difference in the value, just the value of water? And I know right now you're thinking, well, one, is made by a chocolate company, and one is supposedly from France, and I don't have any idea where Agua from, but it's pH water, so it's more alkaline. But the question is interesting if you think about it. What is the difference in value? And the answer, as almost always, is it depends. If someone is dying of thirst, there will be no difference in value. They would take the least expensive, they would take the most obvious, the most available source. If they were literally dying, they wouldn't care. And that's why in chiropractic sometimes we get a little bit lazy because we attract people that at certain points in their life they just don't care. They're in so much pain. They've been in an auto accident. They've herniated a disc. They've had severe migraine headaches. Their children, haven't slept in 6 days, and they haven't slept in 7. And so they are willing, as we used to say, to give you the pink slip, the title to their car if you can just help them. But that's a very small segment, and the challenge is, of course, as soon as the miracle of the body works and they feel better, that value is no longer there, and so we wonder why the PVA, the patient visit average, our ability to retain patients, is so low. And no matter what we try, and then actually I'm getting a little off topic, but I'm not. Then we try to figure out how to keep people, and I got to tell you, you know how it feels as a client, you know how it feels as a patient. It kind of feels like a bait and switch a little bit. Not all the time, but many times. Why? Because we took someone in under one pretense because they had a high value, and we said we can deliver on that value, and we do. And then we say, oh, wait. But I know you feel better. I know everything's good, but we should keep you under care a little bit longer because we've got to stabilize, or we have to rehabilitate, or we have to, and it might make a little bit of sense, but they're going, I really do feel good. And their whole value system has been, if I feel good, I'm healthy. If I feel bad, I'm sick, from day one. That's what their mother, father, teacher, preachers told them. If they feel bad, they're sick. If they feel good, they're healthy. They feel good. So now we got a problem. So what is the difference in value between these 3 bottles of water? It depends. Again, if you're dying of thirst, doesn't really matter. If you're health conscious, you might matter. I personally, I don't know, no discredit to Nestle's Pure Life. I wouldn't buy it. I would, if I was sitting on a shelf, I am not that money conscious, number one. Number two, I am very health conscious. I wouldn't buy water made by a chocolate company. I don't know why. I just wouldn't value that. Would I spend the extra, I don't know what it is, 6 times to buy the Agua? Probably. That's me, though, because my perception of value is looking through a health lens and not a thirst lens. And so the difference in value of these is they aren't different, except and until you add this word, this perception. So in chiropractic, if we have 3 different opportunities sitting in front of you, one's 56 cents, one's $1.66, one's $2.84, the question should become, where do you want to place your value? And we'll talk about this a little bit more as we go on. But man, in traveling the highways and byways of this profession that I absolutely love, and I only love it, no discredit to you guys, but I only love it because I love the people we serve and what happens to them. It's like this is just a vehicle, right? But man, there's been a race to the bottom. There's been like a pricing war, and we've somewhat commoditized chiropractic because we haven't learned the opposite of that, which is how to increase perceived value. When the perceived value is greater than what you're exchanging, people will buy. It doesn't matter if they're going after water. It doesn't matter if they're buying household appliances. It doesn't matter if they're buying a car or a home or a series of adjustments and care in your office. When the perceived value is greater than the exchange, they will buy. And I want you to really think about that for a moment. Because if I just left out the word perceived and I said if the value, how do they know what value is? What is the value of chiropractic care for most people? There isn't one. They don't know. It's never been defined. You can go into a sandwich shop in San Diego, where I live, or in New Jersey, and expect to pay somewhere between $5 and $10 for a sandwich. Nobody knows what the real value of chiropractic is, especially I'm not talking about an adjustment. I'm talking about chiropractic, whether it takes an adjustment or 30 adjustments over a period of time, whether you're like many chiropractors who just want to help people feel better, or whether you're like me, who I got adjusted yesterday and I have been for almost 40 years, and I feel great. So without that word perception, we really limit ourselves, because now we start a game that you cannot win, because we have to have people that have a perception, and perception is the thing we can change. We can't really change value. Something is worth what it's worth, and what it's worth is whatever the consumer says it's worth. That's the magic of perception. So what I want to do with you is I want to get into this process of how you actually change that once we establish it. Because really there's just two options here. The first one, if you want to change value or even the perception of it, is you can lower a price to fall below their perceived value. So if they perceive the value of chiropractic, let's take it the money realm for a minute. If they perceive the value of, let's not say chiropractic either, if they perceive the value of coming to you to do whatever you do so that they don't have migraines any longer, or if they perceive the value of bringing in their child to you because they've had ear infections or colic or whatever it is, if they perceive the value of that to be 2 or 3 visits because they expect when they go to the doc to get a bottle of pills and they take them and they're better, and they expect to go to you and in one visit they're going to be better, well, that's their expectation, and you can't raise that perceived value, then you're going to have to price yourself below that perceived value. And in this circumstance, in this example, you would have to make sure that you kind of got really good at getting people feeling better in 2 or 3 visits, which, by the way, is freaking awesome. But it might not be everything that they need. If it was back to the dollar now, and if your perception, if a visit was $50, let's say a cash visit was $50 or whatever it is in your practice, that simple adjustment, $50. Well, if their perception is, I don't know, it's 30. I mean, it only takes a couple minutes. It's only going to cost a little bit. I was in the airport yesterday coming back from a training. We were training about 300 of our docs in Minnesota. And I was in the airport, and they have a wellness chiro care in the airport there, and it said $49, 15 minutes. And I thought it was interesting. I mean, I get it. It's cool. I didn't judge it. I smiled and waved at the guy who was working on somebody, which is awesome. But I thought it's interesting how the perception of value to some is time. It's actual. I'll charge you $49 for 15 minutes. If I go 14, I'm ripping you off. If I go 16, I need to charge you more money. That's a limited perception of what it is we do. But if we then lean into the perception that what we're selling people is our time, then yep, you are going to have to charge and put your fees out and talk to people and converse with them about how valuable your time is. I, for one, just Dr. David's personal opinion, I don't sell my time. You couldn't afford my time because it's limited. But I can value and sell my talent. And I, for one, know that if any one of you ran into me at an event and said, hey, Dr. David, can you check me before you go up and speak? I'd say absolutely. And I'd lay you down and I'd do my thing, and I bet you within about 3 minutes or so I'd be done. If any one of my girls came up, it'd probably be about a minute and a half. My wife, who I love more than anything in the world, about a minute and a half. So am I giving her less value because I spent less time? Or is it really not about time? Is it about the value of the talent, of knowing when to do something and when not to do something, how to do something and how not to do something? See, this is where we've got to look at our options and say, all right, if people come to us and their perception is, look, I wish I could ask you guys live. I love doing this. But what do people want when they come and see you? I mean, honestly, what do they want? And I know there's a lot, but let me just simplify it for you. And yes, I'm going to be rhetorical and a bit sarcastic. What people want from you, regardless of where they come from, what city, state, country, why they're there. Here's what people want from you. They want to feel better yesterday. They want someone else to be responsible for the bill. That's what they want, right? And what's interesting is, I believe, again, this is Dr. David's opinion, what they want is to feel better yesterday and have someone else pay for it. What they need, in my opinion, is to function better forever and to be responsible for that. So, man, some people, we got a big gap. Others, not so big. But in that gap lies perception. And that's why if you look at option one and say, well, if you're going to fill that gap, then you are going to have to enter the low price race to the bottom war and see if you can outprice your competitors. You see it all the time. You know, you see somewhere that they're doing haircuts and they're $60, and then right across the street they say haircut's $15. I would be the guy that opened up right across the street and said, I fix $15 haircuts, right? There's a perception, and you've got an option. Go down underneath the line or increase the perception of value to cross above their price threshold. Increase the perception of value to perform above their visit time threshold. Those things, by the way, I've checked. I don't see them teaching it very much. They certainly didn't teach it to me in school. I don't see them teaching it very often. This is not only a communication strategy, but primarily it's a mindset strategy, because remember, I said earlier that the biggest concern we have in this profession is our own perception of the value we deliver. It's just so easy to give it away. Remember being back in school and people say, hey, can you adjust me? Like, sure. And you adjust me. Chiropractors, like I just said, I would adjust you. Sure. Absolutely. It's easy. I mean, it only takes me here's this great. I have a really good friend of mine who's a double PhD. He's been my business partner for almost 14 years now. One of the smartest guy you'll ever meet. He trains our docs on profitability and the business aspects and brand marketing. And one of the exercises he does with every new client is figuring out precisely to the penny how much does it cost you to deliver an adjustment. And what do you think most people say when they ask the first question? What does it cost to deliver an adjustment? Most people say nothing. It's free. Yeah, it's not free. Even in your own home, it's not free because it's costing you something. It's costing you time. It's costing you talent. It's costing you, a relationship, whatever. But it costs to deliver an adjustment. There's an absolute fixed cost to that. So when we look at the perception of value, man, this is an important thing, because this is where profitability comes from too. This is also where a practice that is stress-free comes from, because you want people there that actually value the things you do. So how do we do it? How do we take this idea of increasing our value? Well, first and foremost, we have to increase our own, which is a mindset game. And I can't go too into that today. I spend dozens and dozens of hours on this with our clients, because it's so important that even though, yes, we could give away this thing, and we love to because we're humble servants, the reality is that we have to build our own value of what it is that we give. And some of you are saying, oh, I got that in spades. Congratulations. I'm talking about the profession in general. Does not. It's why we're so willing to give it away, or to, just call a horse, man, to break rules, have split fee systems, do really ridiculous things with discounting that aren't above board like you can with ChiroHealthUSA, and all of those things. And we find ourselves racing down that first path down to the bottom, because you know what? It's easier. We haven't really thought through the value, because it's a challenge for us to do that. And then once we do, what are we going to do about it? Well, here's what you're going to do about it. There's hundreds. There are 10 key ways that each and every one of you can raise perceived value. Now, if you're taking notes, please write these 10 down, but I have a lot of experience, and I understand something that has changed my life dramatically, and it's something called Bredis Principle. You've heard of it, the 80-20 principle, that 20% of the work you do gets you 80% of your results. 20% of the words you say are responsible for 80% of the connection, communication, conversion. 20% of your adjustments that you deliver on any given patient are responsible for 80% of their healing. Just as they discovered, when Pareto discovered this, that 20% of the pea pods contained 80% of the peas and everything else. It isn't an idea. It's a law. It's a principle, Pareto's principle. So what I want you to do is write all these down, and I would love, because I don't want to waste your time or mine, I'd love you to pick 2 of them and go at them. Like lean in, like learn more about those 2 things, whichever ones you want, because while they're all 10 great ideas, you won't do them. I'd love to say, yes, you will, but I'm not that chiropractor that gets on a stage and goes, everything's going to be great. You have to do the work, right? You have to be the person first that does the work so you can gain the result, and that result will confirm the person you are. You'll grow as a person. You'll do even more work, and that is how you succeed in life. It's how I went from being broke to building a 7-figure cash practice quite a long time ago, and ran it for a long, long time in 17 hours, very successfully, seeing 60% kids and families. I learned how to raise perceived value. So let us rock and roll. The first way, and by the way, these aren't in any particular order, but maybe they are. Number 1, create authority, celebrity, and expertise. Well, that sounds obvious, but how do you do that? Well, here's what's interesting. You may not have even known me before today, but because I'm the one on the other side of the webinar, by default, I'm a credible authority, I'm an expert, and you know what? I am a damn celebrity, whether it's true or not. I don't know about the celebrity part, but I am credible, I am an authority, and I am an expert at what I do. But part of it's because I said I was. And I want you to think about that, not from an ego standpoint, but from a credibility standpoint. Mary comes into you looking for an answer. Mary fills up her car with gas, takes time off from work, gets a sitter for the kids, fills out your paperwork online. Mary wants what you have, but again, she wants someone to help her today to get rid of pain she's had for a long time and for someone else to pay for it. And if you want to give Mary what she wants, great. McDonald's gives people what they want. You want to supersize? Yep. Pharmaceutical companies give people what they want. You want more drugs? Yep. Right? Giving people what they want, I think, has kind of gotten us where we are. And I look around and I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of beauty in this world, but there's a lot of ugliness, and maybe we should get people to want what they need. Maybe there's a better strategy to get people from what they want to what they need. But the best way to do that, or one of the single best ways to do that, is to begin creating authority. You can create authority. You can create celebrity just by being more vocal on social media. And I'm not talking about just wasting time. I'm talking about sharing tips, sharing strategies. A 90-second Facebook Live twice a week will go a long distance to having people look at you as an authority. Your certainty, which comes from your perception of value of what you deliver, builds credibility and authority that a mother can sense or not see and walk away from a mile away. That ability for each and every one of us to lean in to creating ourselves as an authority, celebrity, and expertise without moving all the way into ego, because we certainly don't want to go there. This is one of the easiest things to do. You don't have to have a movie. You don't have to write a book, although if you can, awesome, great. But you can absolutely build authority, celebrity, and expertise. So if you end up choosing this one, I would start asking yourself questions. How can I become more of an authority? How can I come across? How can people perceive me as more of a celebrity? Maybe, like I did with my 300 docs or so in Minneapolis this last weekend, I said, hey, everyone, get on Facebook at one time during this day, take a picture of you, a selfie, with 299 other chiropractors in the back, and talk about how you are so committed to your community that you train 4 times per year and you train online every single week. Say it in your own words, but build that credibility, build the authority, because someone sees that and they go, gosh, my doctor is so committed. I didn't know they were hanging out with some of the best people in the world. They were learning new techniques from someone that flew all the way in from Melbourne, Australia this weekend. So you can create that. It's not that difficult. It's up to you. I could do 5 hours on how to do this. But it's really up to you to say, well, how do I want to craft this? But it is perhaps one of the single most powerful ways for you to do that. Number two, this one's pretty simple. Increase your fees. Some of you have not increased your fees for years. Some of you I know chiropractors haven't increased their fees for decades. How does increasing your fees increase perception of value? Look around. Does it work for everyone? No. If you want the person that absolutely buys the Nestle's water, then this may not be your strategy. Choose another one of the 10. But if you're looking for people, if you can only serve so many people, whether you're a family practice chiropractor or a PI chiropractor, if you can only serve so many people, why don't you find people that have the means to pay you as well? Because we can't help everybody. So if we look at things, I can tell you that, and this may sound egotistical, I don't want it to be. I'm your patient. I'm your patient. I have a value for my own health and that of my family. I understand chiropractic. I would want them to get good care. And if I walked into somewhere and saw a low fee, it would make me wonder immediately. Because I associate value with money, true or not. I'm actually attracted to something that's more expensive because not always, but typically there is more value built in. You, again, may not be a car person, but if you were to compare a Hyundai to a Mercedes, you could pretty much ascertain why one is more expensive than the other. You wouldn't say, well, they both have 4 tires, steering wheel, and seats. What the heck? Right? There's an obvious value. Now, you may not want the Mercedes, but there's a absolute palpable difference in the fees. So there are so many people. I'm not alone in this. They've done so much study on, human psychologists have done so much study. Robert Cialdini on the book that wrote the book Influence, so many research and so much study on the value of increased fees and how that brings out the best in people. People are willing to pay more to get more. And I don't mean more time. I mean more value. Now that immediately takes us into another conversation that we frankly don't really have time to get into, but the actual value, what you deliver for them. And I'm gonna try to put it in a nutshell very quickly. People don't come to you because they have a headache and they want to get rid of their headache. People don't bring their children to you because they have colic and they just want them to, sleep through the night. Moms bring you their children with colic because they've been dealing with this and trying to fix it and doing all those things for this child that they've always wanted and they love more than life itself. And it's gotten to a point where mom doesn't feel like she's a good mother anymore because she can't help her baby. The actual value is not in just relieving the colic for the child. It's letting the mother feel like she's a good mom. And the value is not getting some older dude's back feeling better. The value is letting him win with his best buddies that he's golfed with every Sunday for 34 years, and he comes in last every time because he can't swing like he used to. Yeah, he wants to feel better, but his actual value, the perception of value that he's looking for, is he wants to get back out and not be the guy buying beers in the clubhouse because the loser buys the beers. We've got to really think about the value. And I know this will come off wrong for some people, or not wrong, but some people go, whatever, a little much. I get it. I just wear my heart on my sleeve. The truth will do. When I have someone come into a practice, I don't see a migraine. I don't see colic. I don't see a car accident. I see challenge. I see stress in a relationship. I see potential divorce. I see financial issues because of all the medical bills they've had and what that's caused the stress. I see someone that probably isn't doing the best job they can at work and is going to get passed up for a raise. I see someone that's been saving up for a vacation to go to Disney World for 2.5 years and is going to go halfway through their vacation with their kids that this is the biggest event they've ever had and then get a full-blown migraine for 2 days, and it's going to be a memory that is thrown into the garbage can. It's not just about the current issue. It's about the value. That's by the way, it's Dr. David. But you've got to find your own values so you can figure out where you want the perception to increase. But increasing fees takes all the people that are probably your best clients and has them look and say, I'd rather pay more for the best. And boy, I got to tell you, if I had an extra dollar for everyone that said, well, my old chiropractor only charged $40, and I'd say, well, how come you're not going back to your old chiropractor? What we deliver here is the absolute best in healthcare, and if that's what you're looking for, you're in the right place. By the way, that was authority, that was expertise, and it proves my increased fees, and it works whether you're cash or not. Number 3, change their unit of measurement. What do I mean by that? Change their unit of measurement. See, people think in relative terms. So when you present a care plan, if you do that, or if you tell people, hey, we'll just see, adjust you a few times and see how it goes, which I think that's a disaster. But if that's how you do things, then what they're going to measure with is the traditional measures of time and money. And I want you to think about changing the unit of measure to value, to opportunity, to lost opportunity cost that you're preventing them. Just like I said in the value conversation a moment ago, change the unit of measure from 12 adjustments and $600 to Larry, who can't golf as much anymore, to a unit of measurement of how far he can drive the golf ball. I want you to think about changing the unit of measure from Mary and her migraines from how many days do you have migraines to how disconnected are you from your family and the value that lies within that. It's something that is very easy to do, but you have to be extremely mindful of doing it, because so many times we just go right after OPQRST, thinking that means anything to a patient. We baffle them with big words. We show them x-rays that they do not see because you didn't see them for a couple of years, and they nod their head and they go, oh, I can see that space and I can see the spur, and I totally understand. They don't. Look, I've said this that if people actually understand chiropractic, they usually become one. It's right. If they knew what you knew, they do what you do. They become a chiropractor. We don't have to get them to know that much, but we have to get them to know enough. And by changing how they look at things, their perspective, that's going to have to come from you. But it's a very, very valuable process. Number 4 is rebrand the message and the result. This one's critical, and this is a big one. So if you're going to take this on one of your 2 out of 10, your Bredis Principle, make sure you're ready for it, because it's going to take some work, but, man, it's one of the longest lasting. Rebrand the message. What is the message of chiropractic? I just spent 3 weeks on an island in Fiji with my wife, and this place is amazing. We've been there 6 times, and when we went in, one of the staff members, so I'd never met before, they called me Davita, which is David in Fijian, and they said, Dr. Davita. They said, oh, so you're a chiropractor. I said, you do acupuncture? And I said, no. They go, massage. And again, they're in Fiji, right? There's like one chiropractor on the mainland, so maybe not the best example in the world. But it hit me there. I'm like, man, nobody seems to know what chiropractic is. And again, if I did acupuncture and massage, then they did the right answer, but I happen to not do that. So to me, it was like, the message is blurred a little bit. And anytime we go out in our own community with a message that seems like it's a dime a dozen, right? I mean, if you're a back pain specialist, so are 100 other chiropractors, physiotherapists, gyms, massage therapists, whatever, and that may well be the case. But what can you do to rebrand the message and the result, right? Because the result is people want to feel better yesterday and have someone else pay for it. But what if you could change the result that they wanted? What if you could actually get people through a process of communication to want what they needed? What if they actually wanted? What if they came in not magically and said, oh my gosh, I want to be unsubluxated for the rest of my life? But what if over a process of time they actually wanted more potential? They wanted to be able to adapt to the stresses in life better. What if they actually wanted their kids to grow up with a nervous system that functioned the best that it could as often as possible? Whether you practice that way or not, I'm just giving you a what if. What if that's what you could get people to want? That's what I want. That's what I want for my kids. And I'm willing to do anything for my kids and most anything for myself, but I'm going to put them first, i.e. family practice is a great movement for most people. What if you could do that by rebranding the message, and the result is not, hey, we're going to have you pain-free in 6 visits, but we're going to do everything we can to get you out of pain and moving toward living to your optimal potential through a nervous system that is functioning the best that it possibly can. Or whatever your story is, if you're different, if you practice differently, figure out what that message is and what the results are, and begin the process of changing it, and the perception of what they're getting from you begins to elevate. The 5th way is practice the commodity theory, and I put scarcity Because what I don't want you to do is what so many people in our profession have done is practice the commodity theory. Make an adjustment a commodity, right? There's a lot of them. They're lower as there's more and more and more. We charge people less and less and less. And by the way, even in one practice, you can still make it a commodity. Here's how you do it. Hey, first family member is $40, kids are $20, and the third one is free. Again, I'm not a judge. If you want to do that, great. Make sure it's legal. Make sure it's approved by ChiroHealthUSA. If not, don't make it a commodity. Is it really any less valuable to adjust a younger child than it is to adjust an adult? I would make an argument that it's more valuable because there's more road ahead and less behind. So that's not the commodity theory I'm talking about. I'm talking about scarcity. I'm talking about you can raise the perception of value by making yourself scarce. I'm not talking about minimal hours or hiding from people. I'm talking about that there's only one of you, that you've got specialties, that you have a philosophy or a science or an art that's unique and different, something that sets you apart that people look around and they go, yeah, but my chiropractor, ... right? My chiropractor has the best team in the world. I mean, I've never been anywhere in my life that I felt so welcomed. Everyone knows my name. They're so convenient. Their hours. My chiropractor's got this great technique. My chiropractor is the locale. Whatever it is, start making a list. If you choose the commodity theory, start making a list that makes you unique and scarce. So there's just not that many of you, so that you stand out more. Because here's what we know. Law of supply and demand. If there's a little bit of supply, you charge more for it. If there's a massive demand, you typically charge less for it. So in chiropractic right now, and maybe this will change eventually, but right now, being scarce, being a one of a kind, is extremely valuable to you because you can absolutely raise your fees and you can raise the perception of what that is worth to the individual is there. The sixth way to raise perceived value is to build trust before and after the sale. So what do I mean by this? Dependent upon your marketing, some people go out and let's say, for example, they say, I want to kind of move and convert. What we get so much of is people that are either new in practice or that have just been stuck. They might be stuck in a good place, but they're still stuck, right? They want a new base camp. They're trying to summit Everest, and they're just like, I'm bored, or I want to make more money, or I'd really like to help more people, or all the above. And they're just stuck in their ways. And when we look at that and they say, okay, well, I'd like to, what do you want? Well, I'd like to see more families, and I'd like to be less dependent upon insurance. I don't need to go 100% cash, but I don't want to be dependent on it. It'd be great to be able to get people to say, great, you take American Express or checks? Great, awesome. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And when you find a doc like that, and that's probably most of the people on this webinar, one thing that happens immediately is they start going after a newer market, or they go after a market with a different message. And what we see immediately is, sometimes it just doesn't seem to stick. And it's not sticking because there's a lack of congruency. You're breaking people's trust. Maybe you go out and you do a workshop on whatever, children's health. Or maybe you go out and say that I'm special in an advertisement or on Facebook, and you're talking about some specialty. And then because people are so adept today, they stalk you. They just log into Facebook, they go to your website, and they don't see any congruency. You talked about kids, but all you got is pain stuff on your website, or vice versa, right? You did a pain workshop, and all you got is family health stuff. There's this lack of congruency, and people are so skeptical today, but they're so good at doing quick research that what often happens is it breaks the bond of trust before they even get to you. And I said the sale, I know chiropractors don't like that word, but the point of sale is when they say yes and they lay face down on your table. So how can you go about raising perception of value by building trust? Well, one of the ways is to be congruent in your messaging, making sure that everything leading up to visit 1 is done at a level of 10. The paperwork is not a third-generation black and white photocopy. Your staff is actually happy to see these people and make them go, wow, and go home. And what I talk about is go home and just slay the dinner conversation. So, you went to the chiropractor. How'd it go? Pretty good. No. I want to create that conversation in my practice and have them go, oh my gosh, let me tell you. And when we can do that, We begin building trust before they even show up. And then after the sale, we do the same thing. After day one, we have to remember something very, very important, that just because they laid down on the table, they didn't get it. They got it for a moment, and when they go back into society, society is going to do what? They're going to tell them, you don't got it. You feel good, you're healthy, you feel sick, you're sick. Go to the doctor. And everything you said, and you saw the light bulb, you're like, yes, they converted, they signed up, they got on an agreement, whatever it is. As soon as they walk out, all the naysayers, life itself, everything they've learned for 30 years, all their belief systems are going to tell them that, hey, you feel good, you don't need to keep going back. Whatever it is, you've got to learn how to build the trust by educating them and more importantly, inspiring them, because no one wants to be taught, inspiring them after the sale, not just before the sale. So many of us just what I call they take a big front loader and they go boom, and they drop Harvey Lillard, D.D. Palmer, the Wilk antitrust case. They drop everything on them on day one, and somehow magically they say yes, and they start getting adjusted, and we think we're done, and we're not. Now we have to continue to build bonds of trust, which keeps people there, increases their value. Number 7, compare and contrast. Listen, I'm sure so many of you are doing this, but my goodness, compare and contrast. Mary, before, let's say I'm in day 2 and I've given Mary most of her report of findings, and I'm going to move into the care plan now. I'm going to move into money in a moment. I'm going to say, so Mary, let me ask you a question. Did your 2 daughters have braces? She'll say, let's just say she says yes. Or do you know anyone that has had braces? Yes. Well, about how long do those braces stay on the teeth? They're going to say 2 to 5 years. So let's just say about 3 years. Why do you suppose it takes so long to straighten a set of teeth, which are just bones really, right? They go, I don't know. Well, think with me. Why would it take so long? I mean, one of the reasons is you can't just crank them into place and then hope they stay, right? And they go, yeah, I guess the whole mouth has to remodel. Everything is used to being there, and so it's a process of time. Just like when you go to a gym, how long does it really take to lose 50 pounds or to be able to lift an extra 50 pounds? You can't do it in a day or two. It takes time. Now, fortunately, listen, that's the compare, here's the contrast. Now, fortunately, we're really good at what we do, and it's not going to take us 3 years. It's only going to take approximately 3 months to get you ready for lifetime wellness care, whatever your process is at that point. But you see how I compared something high, and then I contrasted and said, whew, here's the good news. Now, you can also do that with fees. You can use the same analogy. How much does it cost to put braces on kids' teeth these days? About $5,000. Well, here's the good news. Care plan's not going to be nearly $5,000. In fact, it's going to be about half that, $2,500, and we have three different options for you, right? Compare and contrast. If it's not a mom, if it's some 80-year-old guy, I'm not going to ask him about if he had braces or not, right? I'm going to ask him something different. If it's an athlete, I'm going to talk to him about how often do you think you'd have to go to the gym? Probably every day. Well, the good news is I don't need to see you every day because you're not going to want to see me every day. But we're only going to have to see you 3 times a week until we establish major neurological changes in your nervous system. We're going to challenge and re-examine those through our progress reports every 12 visits, so we're never going to guess, whatever your protocol is. But use compare and contrast. This one, by the way, is dynamite because people see value in knowing what they're up against, and this also answers the question that breaks their trust of they just, I heard, think of this, I heard once you go to a chiropractor, you always have to keep coming back. In fact, I heard they want you to keep it. I heard they do something to you, so you have to keep coming back. Where does that silly, ridiculous question come from? I'll tell you where it comes from. It comes from chiropractors not raising perception of value by giving people the truth in the beginning of care and thinking they're going to get to it later, but they never get a chance to get to it later, and that hurts us. You can dramatically raise people's perception of value when you tell them the truth. The truth will do. And number 7 is a very easy and very lucrative way to do that. Number 8 is show true value. Look, when you do your care plans, however you do them, this is not a webinar on how to do care plans, but when you present your fees, present your fees. And then if you have a legal ChiroHealthUSA discount, show the discount, but show true value. If my wife's got her eye on a handbag, and I know it's $1,200, $1,200, $1,200, $1,200, and all of a sudden I see it for $600, I'm probably buying the damn handbag, right? Or a couple ones for Dr. David. But if I know that $600 is a trumped-up discount and that really wasn't what it was in the first place, then I'm not going to buy it. And we all know institutions and companies online that do that, right? There's like a mattress sale every weekend. I mean, come on, right? Show true value. Show them the process of what this is worth. And go way past money and show them the true value, the impact that it has on their life. When you get good at that, when you get good at taking someone's symptom and having them, not you, having them replace it with someone's potential in their life, and they want to gain instead of just lose, right? They don't want to just lose something that they have now, like a headache or a colicky baby. They want to gain potential and adaptability and freedom. They want to gain more health instead of just lose sickness. When you can help people by showing them that true value, oh my gosh, it is phenomenal. Number 9, kind of goes without saying, differentiate yourself. Be unique. Whether you're a personal injury specialist or a pediatric specialist. One of my good friends, Derek Dunphy, who's a world champion, he won a couple XXL big wave surfing competitions. I grew up surfing him. And this guy is, a world champion at dropping into some of the biggest waves in the world. And I had him speak at one of our events for our chiropractors, and I said, what separates you? I showed a picture of a wave. There were 12 guys in this contest. 11 were going over. He was the only one taking off. I said, why are they all paddling over that wave to save their life and you're actually dropping into it? Are you just that much better or that much dumber? What is it? He goes, no, I always stay 5 to 10 feet outside, meaning that he always differentiated himself. The crowd sits and waits for a wave. He always set just 5 to 10 feet, but when that big wave comes in, he gets there first. They don't get there in time. He drops in. Differentiate. Be unique. People, look, it is the noisiest time in the history of the world. There is so much noise, and you've got to rise above the noise, and you can by differentiating who you are and why you do what you do. It's not just a specialty. It could be PI or pediatrics, but it's also differentiating yourself by your team and your location, the ambiance of your office. I mean, just think of how can I be different so people go home and talk about me. And the last way out of these top 10 is put their value first. Man, I got to tell you something. Everyone's favorite name is their own, right? Quit telling people about chiropractic, because no one on the planet except a chiropractic student woke up today and said, I want to know more about chiropractic. What they want is more life. What they want is more moments with their kids. What they want is better rest. What they want is a healthier immune system. What they want is to get along with their spouse because they're tired of sleeping in 2 separate rooms because little babies had an ear infection or colic and they're keeping them up all night and there's important business. What they want is to be reconnected. And we've got to put their value first. I got to tell you something. I'll kind of close with this and then throw 2 slides and answer any questions if there are any. I learned this a long time ago. I was afraid to death, and that is not an over-exaggeration. You could not have written me a check, and I know you're going to laugh at this and go, yeah, whatever. I wouldn't have accepted $1 million if I had to go speak in front of a group of people. No frickin' way. Scared to death. I was afraid to lead in silent prayer growing up, right? I mean, there's just no way. And here I am traveling all over the world doing it. Why? Because I had a 17-year-old CA one day after I told her I need to build this practice, I don't know how to do it, I should go out and do a talk, set it up, and she did. She frickin' set up a talk. She had 40 moms with ADHD children show up at a talk, and I was like, I told her what to set it up on. I'd been researching and studying. I was passionate about the subject, and it was going to be my first talk ever. Chickened out. Like literally some out of visceral. I got sick. I got nauseous. I had diarrhea. I got a fever. I was vomiting. I literally thought I got the flu, except that it was interesting 2 hours after I bailed on actually doing the talk, I felt fine, right? I literally let 40 moms go home that night, young in practice, because I didn't put their value first. And the next morning, my CA, who I give permission to call me out of my stuff, be careful what you tell them to do, asked me to step into my office, grabbed me by my tie, pulled my head down because she's about a foot shorter than I was. She's 17 years old, looks me in the eye, and God is my witness. She says, when did it become about you, you selfish bastard? Can you believe that? Now your thoughts are, I'm going to fire her, or I gave her a raise. Because that was the day that I said, who am I? Who am I to worry about all my fears of raising my perceived value, to go out and talk or to become an authority or to increase my fees. Who am I to worry about that when this mom is worried that her child will never say, I love you, Mommy, because he's on the sensory spectrum, or this guy will never be able to get back to his job because he's hurt his back? Who am I to worry what people are going to say if I don't have an answer, or if I'm complicating things, or what if someone gets up and walks out? Who am I to worry about any of my concerns in that moment when they are there for you? When you put their value first, forever and always, you don't need to count money, people. You just have to count value. Because when you put a law of exchange in, and that's what ChiroHealthUSA helps you do so well, I have not focused on a dollar goal in 20-plus years. I haven't looked at my bank account in 20 years. My wife does, right? And I trust her implicitly. But I focus on one thing only, and that's how I can deliver more value to people, because I already know the money is going to be there. And it's produced millions and millions and millions in untold dollars that I never thought I'd have by focusing on value. So one of the ways you do that is, look, be accountable. Accountability creates responsibility. So no one's gonna watch after you right now because you're probably on an island alone, or maybe you're with an organization, whatever. But be accountable. If you really want to grow with this, then select 2 of those and move forward. If you want to grow with us, I'm going to do my shameless ethical pitch here. Go to myepicpractice.com/Q3. We have a webinar coming up on July 24th where we're going to describe what it is we do. And it's about a 60-minute webinar. And if you love it, you'll have more information. If you don't, it's cool. We're going to go over the 9 gears that rock your practice. And by the way, if you're listening to this after July 24th, go to myepicpractice.com. You can find us. You can email me. You can email support. You can ask questions. We will do the absolute best that we possibly can. It's been a pleasure. I truly hope that I've created some value for today. Christy, if you have any last words or any couple of questions, I know we only got a couple minutes left.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jackson. Did I tell y'all he was inspiring or what? Like, just gets all the feels, because y'all know how this topic, this of value, just really resonates with me, and it is such a platform that I try to get out here as often as possible, whether I'm speaking in person on the webinar series. And I really do encourage you to go visit myepicpractice.com. Look at their information, take them up on their offer, check out their webinar. Like I said, his team, absolutely amazing to work with, so inspiring, so inspirational. And I have to say that when we were kind of going through all of this stuff, and it was, accountability and responsibility, it reminded me of something that Dr. Foxworth taught me very early on when I entered the world of chiropractic and started working as his assistant. And he said, whatever is measured improves. And where that came from, and they're just so similar, was that, you can think something is important, but if you're never tracking that information, if you're not following up on that information, if you're not holding yourself accountable, then you can't really be surprised when those things don't get better and better. But when you're focused on that and you make it part of your every day and every week and every month, and this is what's so important to me, this is what's important to my practice, those numbers will improve. They absolutely will. So, Dr. Jackson, you are the man. Thank you so much. Because
I'm going to say one last thing, because you just spurred something. The quote is, whatever is measured improves, and whatever is measured and reported improves incrementally. That's where accountability comes in, because you want to measure it, and then when you have to be accountable to reporting it, ooh, man, now stuff's moving. So if you want to move, find someone to do that with.
Absolutely. And make it part of your team staff meeting, and let everybody be responsible for reporting on something and being responsible for something, because I'm telling you, that has had the biggest impact of growth on our practice, was when we started doing that 18 months, 2 years ago. And even here at ChiroHealthUSA, when we started this whole accountability and reporting every single week, and every single person is responsible for something. I mean, you want to talk about making stuff happen, power. It's truly incredible. So really do encourage you, go to myepicpractice.com. We answered all of the questions that had come in. If you have any additional questions, if you are like me, we know how my sweet little ADD mind works, is that 30 minutes from after a webinar, I start thinking of all the questions I wish I would have asked. reach out to myself, Dr. Jackson. I'll make sure that he gets those, and we'll get those answered for you. Also, for those of you watching the recording a couple of months down the road, wish you'd been here live, but as always, you can email me, Christy@ChiroHealthUSA.com. And I'm going to let you go 1 minute early, everyone, because I want y'all to take a deep breath, get focused, find that happy place before you get back out there and work the magic and miracles in your practice that you are doing every single day. And I thank you. And I look forward to having y'all here next week, where we are going to be talking sports chiropractic and changing it up with my dear friend, Dr. Alan Sokoloff. So have an amazing rest of your day. Goodbye, everyone.